Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and I am so very excited about today's episode, although it is definitely going to be one of the ones where I find myself saying, I wish you could see this podcast episode. I wish you could see the website of today's guest. Now, of course, we're absolutely going to be talking about it, and it's going to be linked to down below. First time I've ever spoiled that at the beginning of the episode, but the reason why I'm getting so much into that is because I'm a huge fan of what today's guest and fellow entrepreneur has built. This is really, I want to say it's the future, but it's actually the present, unlocking so many powers of technology and AI from a very brilliant mind and innovator. Let me introduce you to him. His name is Shain Noor. Shain is the co-founder and CEO of Sylvia, which is an AI-powered personal CFO built to give people full visibility and control over their finances. A software engineer by background, Shain previously worked at many startups before starting Sylvia and building it from zero to tens of thousands of users by obsessing over product, data, and real user problems. He's passionate about replacing confusing financial tools with systems that actually help people make better decisions with AI. This is going to be a fun one. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Shain Noor. All right, Shain, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Heck yes, I'm so excited to talk about Sylvia and all the cool things that you and your team have built. But before we geek out about that stuff, you've got to take us beyond the bio. Who's Shain? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Oh man, it's been a long journey. It's funny because I wasn't even in software engineering when I started as a freshman in college. I was actually going to do sports med. Slowly started to realize that through a personal pain point and an idea that I had of simply printing out resumes for career fairs. I was like, why are we printing out all these resumes that I have to pay for? Why isn't there just an app that I can, tap on a recruiter's phone and automatically give them the resume? And I just went to YouTube. I started searching up how to build a mobile app, started building that myself, and that was kind of like the first starting point of building something by myself and actually coding. And since then I got hooked. I was like, I can create anything sitting at my laptop, and that was just like a huge unlock for me. Then, a personal goal of mine was just like, let's get into FANG. I wanted to work at these big tech companies and learn more. And so, I worked at Amazon, I worked at Microsoft. Slowly start to realize that wasn't, quite the right route for me, just because I was so far away from like the end user. I was working on optimizing things. I didn't have as much ownership as I would like. And then I had a passion for space, so then I joined NASA. Similar thing there, but I definitely had more ownership. But I think the authority aspect, and also there's just a lot of hoops that you would have to go through at certain companies like that to at least get something done and produce into the world. The first startup that I joined after that was the Boring Company, and that was like a totally different change of behavior that I'd ever seen before. I was sitting right next to the the director of engineering, who used to work at Tesla Autopilot. And so I think all those things played into factor of where I'm at today. And it was like, I wanted to start my own company. I worked at several different startups, and now I'm a co-founder of Sylvia.
Heck yeah, I love that overview. I so appreciate it. Especially, I think that the Boring Company is the company that people don't talk about often enough, but it's one of Elon Musk's most brilliant companies doing incredible work that I don't think societally we will truly understand the benefits of that work for a long time. But Shain, you have such a cool background taking from all these innovative companies, and I cannot sing Sylvia's praises enough, because I think that we could pick on any single part of what you and your team have built, and whether it's the branding, the functionality, the UI, the UX, honestly, everything that you've done seems that you've absolutely nailed it. And it's cool hearing that you've built upon a background of incredible companies that have nailed it in so many different ways. So Shain, for listeners who haven't seen Sylvia just yet, there's no better person to introduce them to her than you. So what is Sylvia? Walk us into why Sylvia and what is Sylvia?
Sylvia is essentially an operating system for your personal finances. There is network trackers out there. There's budgeting, transaction softwares out there. We sit at the what is the operating system that you would go to if you had a question about your entire financial life, whether it's buying a house, whether it's buying a car, whether it's retirement planning, whether it's simply just knowing how much you've charged on some sort of credit card or whatever bill you have going on. And so we're sitting at, encompassing sort of like a God's view into your entire financial life, but also being able to upload documents. It's like, how can you see household net worth? Could you upload tax returns, trust, will, and then have that entire context into memory within Sylvia that then you can go and, chat with. So currently, you can call Sylvia, chat with her in 60 plus languages. You can chat with her on the web. You can text her on the phone. You can also email her. And it's like, she has the power of obviously the entire web of news, of tickers, of crypto, of real estate, all the assets that you could think of. You can go ahead and connect and add, and she'll track the values for, and then you can of course just ask her questions or set up, alerts, reminders, all that stuff.
Shain, this is going to be kind of a philosophical question that I've been excited to ask you, because I feel like there's so many cool use cases of AI, and way more than its use cases. I feel like its abilities are far greater than the use cases that we figured out to this point. And what's been fascinating for me to witness within the entrepreneurial space is we are pushing the envelope, not necessarily just by the technology evolving, but also by the way we view it and the way we interact with it evolving. So rewind a few years ago, and what was everybody using ChatGPT for? Oh, write me a blog post. Oh, create me a 30-day social media calendar. And now, we see OpenClaw, this very cool technology, for example, that people are going all in on, and they're wondering, how can I actually use this thing? And again, I don't think that they're getting maximum value out of it. For a solution like Sylvia, when I look at that, I think about my parents, for example, who are really keen on taking advantage of AI, and they have all their investment accounts, all their retirement accounts. They have so many of those like living wills and all those documents that you just talked about. And I don't think they even know yet how to leverage technology for that purpose. How much of what you guys have done with Sylvia is about not just building something epic, but teaching people and letting them know how to take advantage of something so epic?
I think that's the number one most important thing going forward, right? And so I think we live in a world of, Twitter and tech Twitter, and know that Anthropic is a thing, OpenClaw is a thing, but I truly believe that the rest of the world, there's a huge majority of people that are still not used to even ChatGPT or Anthropic or agents in general, and they just don't know that this world is coming, and it's coming fast. And so we kind of purposely built that into the UI UX. We knew that we're marketing more towards high net worth individuals. They're going to be a little bit older in age. Most of them have not used AI to that extent. And so it's like, how can we bring the AI experience, but also take from the SaaS experience, have a dashboard, have these visualizations that they can still view, but make it very easy for them to chat and interact and learn how to build a better prompt. Most of that is, suggest prompts, but it might also be us improving that prompt in the back end. So even if a user gives a, vague prompt of, do deep research on, NVIDIA or Tesla, we still improve that prompt on the back end. We have a coding tool, we have a deep research tool, we have radar tool. It's a lot of explaining to the user of what this means, but also separating it into the website. Instead of just a chatbot that could do everything, we kind of have different pages for each of these features that make it very obvious what the user can do.
Yeah, I love that. And especially I find, as someone who's very keen on using so many different technologies and SaaS products, that the onboarding experience can really set you up for success there. And I think that it's so brilliant the way that you guys have mapped out Sylvia, is that Sylvia taps into my real life bank accounts, my private investments, my crypto, all of these things. Shain, I'll out myself here. I don't often log into all of the different accounts that I have. It's really hard for me to get. I used to use Mint, truth be told. Mint was my solution years ago. I still don't know why Intuit shut Mint down, but since then it's been a large gap in my financial life. So what does that onboarding experience look like when there are so many disparate places for all of us end users to look?
Honestly, it's very easy. You literally just sign up. We asked only for your first name, last name, and the first thing is to connect an account. Either you do everything manually and we track everything automatically, so you can literally just input even a VIN number, and we tap into government open source data. We'll give you an estimated value on your vehicle. We tap into Zillow data. You can put in an address. We'll give you estimated value. So we try to make it as easy as possible for someone to connect and add pretty much all their assets. I mean, there's people adding in rare books, Pokemon cards, yachts, jewelry, Rolex, like all that stuff, right? And it's like, could we pull together a Sylvia estimated value for any single asset that someone could possibly add? Or we give them the option to obviously add a manual estimated value, right? And then even manual accounts, I know some of these, network trackers or portfolio trackers, it's like, okay, now I have to go on and, update the manual value of the balances daily, weekly, or whatever it is. We have to think of a new way. Just because now we have AI, it's like, could I just text Sylvia and tell her to update it instead of even having to log on? So I think that is the actual future of this, is like, you probably don't even have to log on. Like, forget about all the other apps you have to log on. You won't even have to log on to Sylvia every day or every week or every month.
That is very cool. And because I already brought up Mint, and because they no longer exist, it's easy to use as an example in this conversation. But Shain, I want to paint this clear distinction that for me, Mint was merely a dashboard, a very convenient dashboard at that, because obviously it updated itself. However, and Mint was kind of pre-large language model, at least the accessibility of it for all of us everyday consumers. But to me, the real big difference in Sylvia, and part of what gets me so excited about what you guys have built, is it's also actionable. It's not just, hey, here's your information in a pretty display. There's so much that goes into making it actionable for us as the end user. Talk to us about that side of it.
Yeah, I think we're sitting at the cusp of what I would call semantic cron jobs. And that's essentially of how can you set up alerts, reminders, so that AI becomes proactive and not just Q&A. And so obviously first phase of Sylvia was a lot more Q&A. You would log on, ask a question, and she would give a response. And I see that as now base case for all AI products. The real case should be, how can the AI now come and reach out to me of what I asked for? So it's setting up custom workflows, or in our case, radars. And you could literally just type in plain English of, give me a P&L daily at 9 a.m. and she'll go ahead and email you that or text you that. If you wanted news on your portfolio holdings, you could just tell her, give me the top news and give it to me in 5 bullet points for all my holdings, what I should care about that will affect my portfolio, and send me an email, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is. Personal financial statements have been a huge ask, and so we integrated that into the platform, where it's like, people already submit their personal financial statements to their bank. So how can we automate that process, and it's already in their inbox, monthly, quarterly?
I love that, especially personal financial statements. I feel like something, obviously you and I are talking in front of a worldwide audience, specifically of entrepreneurs, but a lot of us, actually Shain, I'll level set with you, is that a lot of entrepreneurs don't necessarily keep their business books aligned until tax season comes around. So I think it's so cool the way that you guys are, it seems to me that you guys are blurring those lines between business and personal, in that you've built a tool that has complete context, complete understanding. Someone like you and I, both of us, I mean, our lives, we have all of our business financials, all of our personal financials. Even when I used Mint, that was only personal for me. I've never had something that can handle both sides of that equation. Is Sylvia plugging that gap as well? It's fun asking you that, not only as the CEO and the co-founder of Sylvia, but also as a fellow founder.
I would say it goes even further than that. I think a huge problem is also household net worth. How do we track that entire, spouse, children, generational wealth type stuff, right? Not only personal businesses, but yes, that is the goal here, right? Is how can we track all this stuff in a multi-portfolio view fashion and give that context to Sylvia of, what does the ownership structure look like? Who's the spouse? Who are the children? What are your date of births? What are your goals in the future? What are your business goals versus your personal life goals? You can literally ask Sylvia today of, what would be a burn rate of if I had a second child? And so it's like, you could do these simulations and situations of like forecasting into the future. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, that is very cool. Gosh, and it's really cool having, this is why I believe that entrepreneurs push the envelope in these ways, because you think like a founder. And so you can apply that founder level thinking even down to that consumer level. So super appreciative of your insights there. I feel comfortable going here with you on the air though, because I know that you have to talk about it a lot as the founder of such a cool tech product. And that is, of course, security. Some people are going to hear you say, oh, you're going to give me access to your bank accounts and your date of birth and all of that. Shain, I'm sure that there are some naysayers players, especially generationally. I know that there's a lot of different attitudes towards tech. So walk us right into the security concerns that I'm sure a lot of people bring up.
It's always a huge ask. Yeah, and so we are SOC 2 Type 2 going through the auditing of that. Obviously, we've done security penetration testing, all that stuff, but we do use Plaid, right? And so Plaid is used by Coinbase, Robinhood, Venmo, all these guys, and we don't save banking credentials. We obviously have first name, last name, emails, all that stuff encrypted in our database. And the biggest question is always is the AI, training on my data? Is the which AI are you using, right? And so we're pretty open about that. We use Anthropic behind the hood, and we have a zero data retention, agreement in place with them. So anytime you prompt and there's a response, they actually don't save anything on their servers. And so, yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean we use standard bank level, encryption stuff. It's a very small team. We're 4 people, and obviously that comes in its own security qualifications and two-factor authentication, everything that we also have to be secure about internally. Other than that, I mean, I think it's pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, and standard for you, because I'm going to call out that you have that background as a software engineer, but Shain, even better than I do that it's not so standard in the world of vibe coding, and that is obviously an ever-evolving world where more and more people are just propping up SaaS tools, which I'm saying in air quotes for listeners who can't see us right now, that they're calling them SaaSes, but they have not been tested. They do not have security in all of those ways. What's your take on that? Because you obviously see the landscape of not just what you're doing, but the broader SaaS landscape, the broader AI and technological landscape, especially with that software engineer hat on. Where are we vibe coding wise for people hearing us saying, well, I'm just going to create this on my own?
I think it all comes down to the workflow, right? And so I use AI a lot, or Cloud Code even a lot, but it's mainly for planning, right? And it's I want you to help me plan out this next feature, this next architecture that I want built, and I review that plan multiple times before going ahead and clicking the build button. Right. And it's trust and security is always going to be the number one priority in this, especially because we're dealing with, users' personal finances. I mean, we have, over 12,000 users, 30 billion in assets connected to the platform. It's definitely not something to take lightly. And that would obviously ruin the app's reputation and, personal reputation as well. And so that's something we take very seriously.
Yeah, I love that. Shain, let's go there. You brought up the amazing success and traction that you guys have already had, 10,000 plus users. That is not an easy feat. Let's talk marketing side as well, because obviously you've got so much right on the branding side, the feature side, the UI, UX, but none of that means anything unless you get real life users. What has that journey been like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the moat now is distribution. And so just because anyone can pretty much spin up a SaaS app pretty quickly, you need users and you need feedback. And so a big mistake I've made in the past was, building something that I thought was going to be amazing, and it was just me using it, and I wanted to build it to perfection and then releasing it into the world. And at that point, it's, a year later that I've been working tirelessly on something and then releasing it and then realizing that no one actually wants it. And so with this, I guess, startup or this project, my co-founder had actually tweeted out a waitlist, and this was only a month after I'd already built it. So it was still very buggy. And I think that's the power today is you need that distribution, you need that feedback, and then it's just a whole feedback loop, right? Every time we would get 100 emails a day of telling us what features they would want, it's a very good signal that people are willing to reach out to you and email you to fix the platform. That means you're on to something, right? And then you kind of just have to dig deep and grind it out and build these features.
Yeah, and let's go deeper there, because a lot of people are going to listen to that, and everybody aspires to have more customers and clients in whatever business it is that they're running, but it doesn't happen overnight is the first caveat that I want to throw into that. And then secondly, it does require a bit of patience to go alongside that. And also, you didn't have 12,000 users on day one or week one. You obviously had certain inflection points along the way. What did that look like? I'm sure I remember in every single one of my businesses, the first ever sale is something that we celebrated so much. But Shain, what did those inflection points, what did they look like along that trajectory?
I'll go a little bit back in history because there is some history of how I even started Sylvia, right, and how the idea came about. I actually had been working on several side projects over my entire career, right? And so I had built a portfolio tracker for NFTs, actually. And so I learned a lot, and I had maybe 3 users at the end of the day after like building that for an entire year. And I'd built several other projects, whether it be mobile apps, web apps, blockchain apps, all that stuff. This one was a little bit different, where there was a huge pain point that my co-founder had personally, right? And he had a spreadsheet that he would manually track all of his assets on. I mean, banks, brokerages, private investments, crypto, all that stuff, right? And he obviously had friends that he would talk about this problem with as well. And so I kind of just went in there and was like, hey, let me help automate most of this stuff. Didn't think much of it until I built out that dashboard and started, integrating, voice, text, all that stuff to it. Then he shared it with his friends. That was probably, a month of feedback and going back and forth. We launched with a waitlist on Twitter and got, I would say a couple thousand users. We slowly started integrating them into the platform. And obviously there was a lot of complaints because of the bugs. There was a lot of learnings, foreign currency problems. There was what is considered cash, what is not considered cash on the platform. And so it was just, we found out that there was a lot of different ways that people wanted to view their portfolio, and that had to be hyper personalized. And so that inflection point really changed going forward, where we were like, we need to make sure that everything we build on this platform can be personalized to the user, instead of having things that are set in stone, and less manual work, obviously. And then slowly after that, word of mouth changed. I would get on calls. It was very brute force. And so I would email every single user, got on 30 plus calls a day, 15-minute, 20-minute calls. And it was just, what were you using before? Give me feedback. What would you like to see, Sylvia be in the future? And wish lists. And users would literally send me like PDFs of what they would wish Sylvia could do for them in the future. And I would simply prioritize those, add it to the roadmap, and build them out.
Shain, hearing you say that, I'll tell you where my head goes in real time is that one of your superpowers is an executive filter, because that's a lot of, you used the word earlier of signal, but that's also a lot of noise for you to be sifting through. And obviously you want to please everybody. None of us can please everybody in our businesses. And so you as co-founder, you as CEO, and also I'll tag on you as part software engineer as well, you have to have this amazing filter to make sense of it all, and then to make those executive decisions about how you're going to prioritize that, what that roadmap looks like. What does that filter look like? Because you've clearly narrowed it in, and I'm sure you got it wrong a lot of times. I'm going to call out the fact that this takes reps for every single listener who's thinking, gosh, it must have been easy for Shain. But what has that process looked like, and what is that filtering mechanism in your mind?
We knew that there was a transaction budgeting softwares out there. So we made a big filter in the first part of the app, which was don't add anything related to budgeting. And that automatically created a filter for high net worth individuals. Most of them did not care about tracking, category by category for their credit card transactions. They kind of want to see a holistic view of their net worth. And so that was probably the biggest first filter we had. And obviously we still had a lot of inbound from people that wanted that, but it was kind of just ignored in the beginning because we knew our priorities was complex high net worth portfolios. And that, once we solved that portfolio, we knew that it would trickle down to easier portfolios. And so that was kind of like the first filter mechanism. So always having that, I would say, like that end goal or that end vision in mind of what you see as Sylvia. If you had to choose kind of like one user base, that really helped, right? And so I would get on calls with all these individuals and still get to learn about how we would bring that complex portfolio down to someone who doesn't have so much of a complex portfolio. We have users who have 20, 30 bank accounts in several different, whether it be international, US, and then they have vehicles, commercial real estate, residential real estate. And so we figured if we could build that out for that individual and that type of, generational wealth, then everything will just trickle down.
Yeah, and really what I heard there as well, part of in conjunction of your executive filter in your mind is a real understanding of the people that you serve. It's really clear that you went straight to what matters for them matters for us, and I really appreciate you sharing that level of thinking. I've got to switch gears because I knew that time would fly by. I'm such a big fan of all the things that you guys are doing at Sylvia, but Shain, I also want to put the spotlight on you because in many ways I feel like you have the quintessential college dropout story, living in the Bay Area, doing really cool stuff, working for cool, innovative companies, companies and taking all of those experiences and thoughts and applying it to your own venture, which I think is a very successful display of what a college dropout story looks like. I get asked very frequently as the host of this show, should I go to college? Should my kids be looking at college? What's the future of all of that? Shain, I always feel like a bad person to answer that question because I say, yeah, I totally wasted 4 years. Like I started my first business when I was in college. I don't know why I kept on going to college to get to graduation, but what's your take on that? Because I'm sure you've got some interesting thoughts.
It's tough. A user actually just asked me this last week for their son. My usual advice for this is I obviously don't believe college is for everybody, and I really do think it depends who you surround yourself by, right? And so your environment kind of breeds what you'll probably end up doing. And I think you need a lot of curiosity, a lot of consistency, and obviously a lot of hard work, but learning is always going to be there, right? Whether you're in college or out of college, you graduate, learning just never stops. And if you're just that type of person who has a lot of curiosity and you're willing to keep learning and keep kind of pushing, and going harder and figuring out new and difficult things, then I don't think college is for you. It definitely wasn't for me because I hated the concrete, going to class, learn about theory and not actually putting real work into the world. And I think that's how you can learn the best.
Yeah, so well said. All right, Shain, I'm going to steal that answer. It's not for everybody. You don't have to answer for that person. You can just answer it generally. And you must have been as bad as I was. I remember sitting in college classrooms and I would be running my business by night. And then by day, I would raise my hand in a classroom and ask the professor, what are some of your businesses that I started? So I can look at some of the ways that you operated. They didn't always like those questions, Shain. So grateful to see that you just went forth and paved your own path. I want to squeeze two final questions in. The first of which is that you're a trusted voice in the AI space. And I feel like there's a lot of mass hysteria about AI. There's a lot of question marks over AI societally and culturally. We're just still trying to figure that out. What's your view of the future? Because you've built a very futuristic tool and solution for consumers here in the present day, but I'm sure that even on the macro level, you've got some cool observations.
Yeah, my view is that everyone will essentially just become a manager. And that's probably the best skill that you can learn today is how to manage people, because you'll be managing agents. And so you may have an agent that takes care of all your personal finances. You may have an agent that takes care of your home. That could be, ordering groceries. That could be fixing the washing machine. That could be fixing anything, right, into your entire life. And I just believe that agents are obviously the future, and we're doing that today. But you may just have these agents or employees that run your entire life, and you kind of sit there and manage. You'll have these morning briefs that might just land in your laptop or in front of your desk every morning, and that's kind of like your to-do list to do today.
I love that. That is a cool vision of the future, and especially when we combine it with whether we want it or not, down the pipeline are going to come robotics, and they're going to be in our houses in different capacities. So truly managing staff, managing people, managing talent, managing skills, all of these things are human skills and traits that we can practice and we can develop. So sign me up for that vision of the future. And Shain, I've got to ask you, because I ask you at the end of every episode, what is your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and knowing that you are one of us, you're a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one thing you want to leave them with today?
I always give the advice of stay curious, to be honest. I know it's very simple, but that has pretty much been my entire career. I mean, I've jumped around from, like I said, from space to blockchain crypto stuff, to mobile apps, to marketplaces, to personal finance, to ed tech. And so I've always just chased my curiosity, and then that always breeds to learning new things and challenging yourself.
Heck yes. And it's the simplest advice that has the staying power, and we need constant reminders of those. So super grateful for you bringing that to our listeners. I'm also very excited. Shain, I say it so frequently on the air that I wish podcasting was a more visual platform. I wish we could screen share and people could see us right now, not just listen to us as they're driving or as they're at the gym, but it's a great reason for them to go check out Sylvia with their own eyes. Your website is beautiful. I've already sung the praises in so many different ways, but I think that even as high as I've set that bar, when people see it, they're even still going to be amazed at all the things that you and your team have built. So Shain, for listeners who want to find all the cool stuff that you're up to, drop some links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
CFOsylvia.com, and then Shain Code on Twitter. That's
yes,
it.
super easy. Gosh, Shain, honestly, I love the fact that you are super available, putting all that good stuff out on Twitter as well. And we're also linking to your personal LinkedIn. If listeners do want to reach out to you on LinkedIn, we're also dropping that. So listeners, you already know the drill. We're dropping all those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. Otherwise, Shain, on behalf of myself and all the listeners, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.